Welcome to the Conscious Creators Podcast, where we explore the real science of manifestation. We'll take you from mind mastery to self mastery. We'll share the yogic wisdom and its relation to neuroscience. We'll also explore quantum science and its relation to meditation. It's going to be an exciting journey, so if you feel stuck or overwhelmed, this is the right place to be. Get ready to go from the internet to the conscious net because I believe this is going to be a mind bending journey and give you the possibility to unlock your full potential. Welcome again. Hi, welcome to the Conscious Creators podcast. My name is Raja Sharma, and today we have Kimberly Zimmerman. She is from Santa Barbara. She is a yoga teacher as well as a Reiki master, a life coach, and a juice company owner. So we came across her profile, and I thought it would be a great match to get to know about her life journey, her yoga journey, and how she got into the spiritual world and where she is and where she plans to take this from here. So I'm very excited to have you on board. Thank you so much, and you can take it from here.
Oh, awesome. Well, I let's see. So my history, I started in behavioral based marketing over probably 15, 20 years ago,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
took my first yoga class. I was guided to the Bikram practice from a woman in the office who seemed to be more calm and centered and connected than anyone else around us. And I'm an ex-athlete. I played Division I soccer in college and had a business degree. And so I initially was thinking that yoga wasn't really the right path for me, and that it wasn't really a hard enough workout and wouldn't get me the results I was looking for at that time in my life. And she took me to a local Bikram studio, and it was a 20 days for $20 special. And so I dove into practicing daily because of my pretty type A personality, especially at that point in my life.
Uh-huh.
And immediately started to feel the benefits physically. It was one of the first times in life I was encouraged to listen to my body and to allow my body to be the guide and to enhance, like my experience in life through connecting to my body. And that was a new concept for me, and really found that I wanted to dive deeper into this type of work, and that the marketing company that I was working for and the pace that I was going was not a sustainable lifestyle for me.
Right, right.
And so I, in my next performance meeting, had told my manager that I was, concerned about this trajectory of my career within this company. And they let me go. And so it cleared a path in my life to do some thinking about what I wanted next. And I dove into a yoga teacher training program and went to the Institute of Integrated Nutrition to study wellness coaching, and began the career in this type of field. Shortly after, I started working for a raw food company in Orange County, California, and helped develop a raw food line that was sold in many of the markets in Southern California, in the health food markets in Southern California. And like I said, began to build and establish my career in the health and wellness and yoga world.
So I'm sure your marketing background probably helped you a lot with this, setting up this line of work. Getting clients and all that stuff probably was a natural progression for you.
Yeah, I think that, when sometimes we're in the middle of certain things in our life and we're not sure why we're doing certain things, and then later on
Amazing.
in life there's a aha moment, and how maybe the universe or God or whatever the higher being that you believe in may have had a bigger plan for that, for what you were learning. And so I definitely think the business degree and marketing background helps in marketing the current offerings that I have in this more holistic world.
So what did you take your teacher training at a studio or some other company?
I
I
took my first teacher training program was with Core Power Yoga in Huntington
Core
Beach.
Power. Okay.
Again, coming from a fitness background and, like a strong power sort of yoga background. Bikram is also a pretty strenuous
Uh-huh.
style of yoga. That was my first teacher training. I later did a teacher training just in 2020 with the Kula Collective, and that was a therapeutic training in Peru. And
Okay.
in between, I've done a few restorative trainings and things like that to round out my teaching.
Okay. I used to be in Los Angeles. In fact, my yoga journey started in Los Angeles as well. I had a studio in Culver City for a little while. Uh, but again, I very quickly realized that the model here, what yoga is taught here, is totally different than what we have in India. So
Absolutely.
it's a whole, we lean more towards the asanas and the physical aspect of it. Now I think people are going deeper into the meditation and the spiritual aspect of it now, and we very much need it now.
I
So with
agree.
your juice company, did you do any? Have you done anything with Ayurveda at all?
Yes. So when I was with Core Power in Huntington Beach, I helped with their cleanse programs, and we
Uh-huh.
taught an Ayurvedic
Excellent.
cleanse. So we
Okay.
talked
Okay.
about doshas and talked about different people's constitutions and how to balance, seasonal eating and people's constitutions with food and practices so that they would find the most harmony in their life.
Right, right. So do you integrate any of that with your juices, or tell me a little bit about the juice stuff? I am not very familiar with that at all.
Sure. So the premise of it is it's a milkman style juicery. So we deliver to people's homes in
Oh,
glass
okay.
jars, and we wash and reuse the glass jars for the next use, creating a minimal carbon footprint.
Right, right,
We also we use what's seasonally and locally available and create blends, much like a winemaker creates blends with the different varietals of grapes that they get. I'll make blends with the different produce that I get from our farmers, and I
right.
group together to make color blends. So there'll be a red juice, a green juice, a yellow juice, a nut milk, and then a couple of other superfood lemonades that are included in our weekly menu.
Uh-huh.
And because they are seasonal, as you know, with Ayurveda, the idea is to study what the constitution is of each season, and what the constitution of one's body is, and so when we're eating seasonally and locally, oftentimes the food that's being produced in that region is going to help the body that's living in that region. So for example, in the summer times, we have a lot of access to watermelon and cucumbers and things like that will show up in our juices, and those are designed to have a higher water concentration than a vegetable or fruit that's available during the winter months. And the reason that helps is that during the summer months, we are sweating more and losing more sugars and more minerals and more salts, and so having a highly liquid based fruit and vegetable is actually a really great way to hydrate the body that might be losing some of those nutrients during the summer months.
So most of your clients that you deliver these juices to, do you know them as part of your coaching or yoga stuff, or are this like people can randomly call you and say, "Hey, I want to get XYZ kind of juice," or how does that work?
It started word of mouth, and since then we have, specifically during COVID, became a touchless online ordering system. So somebody can order without having knowledge of our, pre-knowledge of me or the company at this
I
point.
see.
So our website is pretty robust, and I actually had a yoga studio up until 2020, 2021, excuse me. And that yoga studio also sold our juices. And so once we closed down towards the end of COVID, that brick and mortar, we brought a lot of our ordering system online. So you can order cleanses and individual juices and bone broth actually as well to be delivered to somebody's home. And anyone can do it locally here. We have a small radius of delivery because of the perishability of our product. So mostly within the Santa Barbara County. We've tried to ship it to LA and things like that, but glass jars and unpasteurized juice being shipped is a very volatile experience. So we've limited it to this local area.
So have you partnered up with like DoorDash or anything yet, or you're not there yet?
We make our juices to order. So
Oh, okay.
DoorDash would require us to have a large amount of juices waiting for an order to come in.
I see.
And we specifically produce actually, it's in Santa Barbara County, but we're in Solvang in the San Ynez area, which is a really small demographic. So we press once a week with pre-orders that come in. And so on Sunday night, we collect our orders and place a produce order. We have farmers that have farm stands in this area that will give us the produce, and then we'll use that produce to produce the juices the next day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite extensive work. It's a lot involved into it. It's not, just not a simple operation.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. I like to offer products that would be something I'd want to drink and want to consume myself. And this model is really an opportunity for me to stay close to the high quality of juice that I'm looking to consume myself.
So, if you look at your overall business model, how much, I mean, if you were to break it down in percentage, how much would be your yoga? How much would be your coaching? How much would be your juice company? Kind of like 30-30-30 or 60-40, or how would that?
Yoga probably is that is what creates the most revenue for us at this point.
Okay.
Juice is extremely labor intensive and the margins are really small. So where we're quite busy with the process of producing juice, there's a really small margins in it and really short shelf life. So, I mean, one could argue though that the cost of teacher trainings in the past and the cost of my training and the amount of years I've been doing yoga, could perhaps show that the revenue might be less if you put in my trainings into the cost of yoga. But at this point, with years of experience and years of training, yoga makes more revenue with less work at this point, less physical work or less employees and less contractors and things of that sort.
So do you have like a classes model, or do you do also retreats and stuff like that besides just yoga?
Yeah. I have a couple of group class offerings each week at a local yoga studio that's open recently. I also teach for luxury hotels in this area, and weekly classes at the hotel that's open to hotel guests and members. So kind of like a country club. There's a membership that one can pay to be a part of these luxury hotels.
Right.
I have private clients as well that I go to their home and work one-on-one or get hired for business, like a business retreat or a girls' weekend or bachelorette parties on the weekend. I often get hired for private ranches or private homes out in this area to teach classes for. And in those, there oftentimes will be Reiki and juice that's included in those experiences. So I will create mini retreats for them.
I see.
And or mini, wellness days for them. And then I'm in the process of promoting a retreat for in Tulum, Mexico for this summer. I'm
Oh,
working with
okay.
a retreat planning company who has experience with this particular area of Tulum. And so I work with them to put together retreats as well. I also host cleanse programs
Uh-huh.
where there's yoga, juice, and coaching involved in the program. So that one pays one rate and gets guided through, a series of different steps that pertain to them having a cleansing experience or a wellness experience.
Well, if you ever decide to do a retreat in India, let me know. I'll hook you
Okay.
up.
Awesome. I'd love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Have you ever been to India?
I have not. No.
Oh, okay. Oh, you should visit. That's a place that once in a lifetime a person should always. I think it gives you a whole different view on your life once you get there.
Sure.
So I
Sure.
had heard that who was that Facebook guy? Uh, Mark Zuckerberg, yeah. He went to India for his before he started his company. Steve Jobs went, so they all go there somewhere, have some kind of awakening, and then they come here and start a big company. So that's
Yeah.
uh, that's what it has been. But I'm planning to go next month on the 7th, I think. Yeah, 7th. I'm
Is
I'm
there a
going
certain
there for.
area that you go to when you go to India? Are you from India?
Yeah, I am from India, but I've been here for 50 years, so I kind of more westernized now than I am more of an Indian, but that accent doesn't go.
Sure.
So yeah, but I like going to India mostly for kite flying. I am very passionate about flying kites.
Oh,
And
okay.
also the yoga stuff and all that. I don't do much. I My grandfather was a great yogi, so it's in my DNA. But my yoga is I call my yoga called Manas Yoga, so that's what I teach. And I did a teacher training stuff in Los Angeles for I think a little over a year and a half. Like I said, I had a studio in the Culver City. But then I realized that I needed to do more. I make the money the teacher training, but then the teachers, have to run around from the studios. It's not easy to make money being a yoga teacher. So
Sure.
that was my whole passion became into how to lead those people, yoga teachers, more into the life coaching and all that stuff. So that's how I started expanding my own journey, and that has led me into this podcast and stuff, because my focus, the whole thing is all about manifestation. So going back to Corona, you said your studio was closed after Corona or
Yeah, so
during?
during the pandemic, I pivoted to an online platform and allowed all of our members to continue to practice through Zoom calls, much like we're on now.
Uh-huh. Right.
Um, I also became well versed in the grant writing procedures and was able to secure a few grants and loans throughout COVID. And when it came to the end of COVID, people were not ready to come back to studios yet.
Right.
They still had the fears of being close to other people and the virus
Yeah.
for good reason. And it took a long time to, and I didn't see a lot of people coming back for quite some time. So while the closures were done and people were being vaccinated at that time, there was still a lot of there still wasn't a lot of growth in my studio. So and around that same time, my father, who actually had battled cancer, and who was
Ah,
the inspiration of the juice company and much of the wellness things that I was doing, had passed from his cancer battle. So I took that as a sign, as a lead in a community. It's important when you have heavy things going on that you need to process and grieve through and do your own yoga
right.
to step
Uh-huh.
back and to rebuild and to heal and to process the big things that happen. So COVID was a big struggle. It was a huge undertaking to learn how to move things quickly from one platform to another to secure grants and loans and funding like
Yeah.
that, and then to have there be a long period of time without clients coming back and the passing of my father, for me, it was a good time to step back from the work and to reposition what was still important to me in the practice of yoga. And we did a big website update and started to bring things mobile more. So offering like the mobile experience instead of the in-studio experience was one of the ways that we shift. And I'm stepping back into more coaching at this point, because previously when I had the yoga studio, most of my focus was on running and growing that platform. So I'm in a rebuild phase for the coaching piece of my work, but everything else has shifted pretty seamlessly to online and mobile offerings.
Right. So have you noticed, like, post-COVID, that people are more uh, stressed, more anxiety, more depression? Has it brought in uh, more people to you, or becoming more aware on the online platform?
That's a good question. I think that as time passes, I notice that humans seem to always believe they're in their worst spot that they've been so far,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
before COVID, I remember there being other things that people were like, "Oh, well, this is the worst, where this is the most stressed we've ever been," right? Humans are more stressed out than they've ever been. I do think that there's a specific level of trauma that has come out of the experience of COVID. Anxiety through isolation and anxiety of being close to other people. And I say anxiety from isolation because I believe humans are supposed to be in community. We're supposed to be in tribe. We're supposed to
Right.
have be surrounded with other humans that can help support us through our human experience. And I think that did really shake up some of the patterns of the frequency that we receive from other humans, and the patterns in our DNA, even from vaccinations and things like that. We're still learning about some of the side effects from vaccines. We're learning about some of the side effects from being isolated. People are rushing back, it seems like, to be in more human experiences and be in classes and group classes. And it seems like people are taking things offline more and more and back into, like, offices seem to be asking employees to come back to offices. People in yoga studios seem to want to be practicing in person, perhaps more than online offerings. But that's mostly just in my experience. I do see there's a lot of coaches and different yoga instructors that seem to be growing strong businesses online currently still, or I feel more bombarded by their offerings than I ever have before, if that makes sense. There's lots
It's
of
crazy. Yeah.
sales techniques and funnels that I get myself caught in or wrapped in different times. And as a coach, lots of other coaches offering ways in which that they can help me to gain coaching, but it's really through paying them money to teach me to do the same things that I'm doing anyways, which is an interesting thing that I'm observing, at least. When I'm looking to put offerings out, and I want to make sure that I'm certain that they're going to serve the greater good and not just my bank account. And so that's some of the things that I'm noticing in the industry right now that are interesting trends that I'm just becoming aware of.
Yeah, I think the marketplace itself has changed, but I have been doing yoga, teaching, talking about life coaching and all that stuff for quite a number of years. But I got really, really motivated when post-COVID, like my daughter, she got really affected because she started working from home and she just couldn't handle it. She's such a outdoor person, and she's always run restaurants and banquet spaces and stuff like that. So she's around people all the time. So when she had to work from home, she struggled. And in fact, she's still going through that same experience of isolation and struggling and depression. She lost her relationship that time around that, you know, And so I started looking at things in a whole different perspective. I'm almost well, I should be retired next year, but I don't think I'm going to be. I don't like sitting at home or doing nothing. So that's one reason that I wanted to share my stuff, that how we can, uh, the East and West, like a fusion of that stuff. And that's why my passion is to talk to people like yourself who are actually into that line of work, taking yoga, taking health and wellness, rather than going after the drugs or the prescribed drugs, even if you call it, or green plant medicine or whatever you want to call it, to raise their consciousness. Is that's To me, that is like when you take, even if it is microdosing, right? If you are taking any kind of drugs or medicine or green plant medicine, whatever, to raise your consciousness, then it's like you are doing a DUI. You are not in your full senses to experience that spirituality. So that's what made me reach out to people who do Reiki, who are into this yoga world and all that stuff. How we can share the platform, talk about this knowledge, that how you are using your knowledge, how you have incorporated yoga and coaching and everything together, and that when people listen to this stuff, they get to know that, okay, there are possibilities. I can do this, I can do that, that kind of stuff. And that's what made me look into this. And I thought a podcast was a good way for me to get to know people, reach out to other people who are in the same line of work and has the same intention of collective consciousness growth, to help each other, raise to that level. So that's a great thing. And I'm very happy that we got connected. You have um, like you said, it was, I think, a natural, the universe get you, they probably put you in the marketing first and then put you in your own business, rather than most people doing something and then run after marketing. Okay, I need to figure out how to do this. So yours was a natural progression. How long ago your father passed away?
He passed in 2021, May of 2021.
Oh, so that was recent then.
Yeah, yeah. He had had a 20-year cancer battle with skin cancer,
Ah,
melanoma. He had been a soldier in Vietnam, so I think it was related to Orange Agent,
oh,
and it started, small on his skin, but also, his lifestyle choices. He enjoyed a lot of wine and enjoyed, decadent foods, and he was a therapist himself, a marriage family therapist, and
oh,
I think that it's important for marriage family therapists to have a lot of balance and doing, Reiki of sorts on themselves and mental health practices and meditation. There's a lot that needs to be shed when we carry the weight of the world of others on our shoulders.
right.
And so he also had lost a wife, his wife to mesothelioma, which is lung cancer, from asbestos poisoning. So I think that the grief from that, in combination with some of the other, exposures, like I said, to being in Vietnam and other types of stressors on his body, contributed to some of the struggles that he had. Although he lived for 20 years with the cancer, so that's pretty
Oh, okay.
a long
Yeah,
a long battle. And
right, right.
so one could argue also that he, you know, lived longer than he should have, quote unquote. He did go the Western medicine route in a lot of this. There was lots of surgeries and radiation and chemotherapy that he decided to do, which is may also be contributors to extending his life or shortening his life, depending on, how you look at some of
Right,
these
right, yeah.
things. But yeah, so he had the juice, like I said, the juice company was for me. My senior project in high school was on winemaking, and I learned the art of beverage making then. And
Oh,
when
okay.
he got sick and my stepmother had passed too, I really wanted to use again the skills that I had built in my life to do something that was different and perhaps healing to society. Not that I don't enjoy a glass of really nice wine myself, but
Right.
I think that alcohol in excess tends to create more struggles for the body, and that juice has been shown or is known to be a way to get high density nutrients, vitamin, minerals, and nutrients into the body in an easy way if it's done with organic produce, and with, balancing out, of course, some of the other things that we need to, like fiber and things like that in our life, when we're not cleansing. Lots of times our organs are able to cleanse on their own. And so, we do have self-cleansing mechanisms, but I also believe that taking in a period of time where we're not eating a standard American diet and we're not eating some of the chemicals that have been put into our food to extend shelf lives and to bulk foods up and make them taste good is a good way to take a break from our system from some of those chemicals and to help the body reset and rebuild itself. So there's lots of different angles to look at even cleansing, right? In the world of nutrition and everything, I think, in balance, in my opinion.
Yeah. So what kind of diet do you enjoy? What's your daily diet like?
I enjoy a lot of farm eggs. We live in
Uh-huh.
an area where there's a lot of like farming that goes on, so you can get a hold of some beautiful eggs. My last partner and I had a flock of chickens, so I would eat a lot of farm fresh eggs from that.
Oh, okay.
Um, I also am a smoothie drinker. I make myself a green smoothie every
Oh,
day, and that has in it spinach and a green powder, almond butter, a little bit of honey, blueberries, cacao nibs. And in the morning, I drink one of our yellow drinks. And I do put it with warm water. So in Ayurveda, having warm substances first thing in the morning helps to heat up a cold digestive system, a digestive system that's been resting and rebuilding itself for the evening. And so I'll have a little bit of our yellow juice, which has in it turmeric, and it has honey and apple cider vinegar and bee pollen and black pepper, cayenne pepper, oregano oil in it. I'll put some of that in with hot water and drink that first thing in the morning.
I'll
Um,
have to try that. Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
have a gut I'm trying to lose. I'm a yogi that does not practice yoga. Okay, I'm a urban yogi, so I'm more of a spiritual and a meditation kind of person rather than doing the asanas and stuff.
yeah.
And my past life, I was a chef.
Right.
So because our palate is so used to the the spicy stuff, I have a very hard time with. I have to kind of force myself to eat salads or something like that. For me, I have to come up with some. I think the recipe you just said, I'll have to listen to this video again and write that down. That sounded good with turmeric and
Yeah.
oregano. You said black pepper
We put a little
and
bit of oregano oil and black pepper. Yeah, it's almost like it could taste like a chicken seasoning, right? Like so, like a
oh
marinade
yeah,
for
that's
chicken.
yeah.
And yeah, it's on our website too. So that one's one of our superfood lemonades that stays pretty much the same the entire time. So
Uh-huh.
it's the yellow juice. And I found that I started to really be able to shift my eating when I found like the raw food world had about 10 or 15 years ago started to do some beautiful things with raw living foods. There was, when you add a lot of garlic and onions and, and spices like you talked about into food,
Right,
you
right.
can get a lot of really wonderful flavors from food. And I'm a meat eater myself. I do eat meats, but I try to have it be meats that are consciously raised, not factory farmed, and in small doses. So once or twice a week, as opposed to having it be part of every single meal. Um, yeah, and I find that everything's in balance, right? So just having maybe you eat super healthy for a period of time throughout the day and allow yourself a cheat meal or a cheat day, where you allow yourself to indulge, because when we don't allow ourselves to really indulge in the foods that feed our soul, right? Soul food is like not just eating for health, it's eating for our like emotional health too. There's something to like food that makes us feel warm and brings us back to memories in our life and makes us feel good. And so if we have something that maybe isn't healthy for the body, quote unquote, but it's healthy for our soul, I think it's important to enjoy, mama's chocolate cake once in a while, or, your favorite, bacon wrap date dish that like your uncle
Yeah.
used to make for whatever it might be, that's like that makes
Right. Yeah.
somebody feel warm inside.
Yeah, that's so true. So, would you say that you have found your passion, are you on your path, your purpose?
I believe so. It's interesting how, because of some of the struggles I've been through, I question,
Uh-huh.
I question when the studio is closing, like, okay, this seemed like I was on the right path. Now what? It's not always easy to have, everything's a cycle in life, right? There's beginning, middles, and ends to it. And I find myself struggling with the ends of things. So when I see an ending of a studio, right, or like an ending of an experience, I'm like, wait, what did I do wrong, is what I tend to be the first thought in my
Yeah.
mind. And then I'm one of my biggest areas of work is like, where's the opportunity in this, and where is this guiding me next in my journey? And I think I'm learning that more and more as I get a bit older. I'm actually in the process of applying to grad school right now to be a psychologist.
Uh-huh.
So when I think that what I do with yoga and what I do with my coaching and the work that I'm doing now is really aligned with what I believe. And I believe there's probably other ways that I'm supposed to bring it into the world to find not only more abundance for myself, but to be able to serve at a greater capacity in the world. So I think I'm probably on the journey I'm supposed to be on. Is it always easy? Does it always make sense? Am I always comfortable in it? Absolutely not. So it's a kind of a question that I ask myself often.
Yeah, I think I have learned through, I'm 64 now, and I think I've come to a realization that we are already where we are supposed to be. So whatever evolution that is going on, we are on the right path. That it's just about us starting to recognize our own powers and understanding that we have the powers. We just allowing our mind uh, to take over most of the time. And so the
Sure.
mind is the one that struggles. If you really live a soul-based life, then you will realize that, okay, no, I'm already here. I have everything I want. I am on the right path. Everything is just working perfectly. But it is the mind. I always talk about the stuff that between where you are and where you want to be, the only thing that comes in the way is the mind.
Sure.
What we call mind, actually, the brain. And I say in our Eastern theosophy, it says the mind is not in the body is in the mind. So the mind is outside when we start talking about the quantum field and consciousness and all that stuff. So body, mind, and spirit, it's outside. So we try creating our life with our mind, with our brain, but actually it happens outside. The spirit is the one that creates. So when you are talking about like soul-based food or soul-based living, that actually is the right path.
Yeah.
So that's what and it's a great that you have found something that gives you happiness, that gives you joy, and you are able to make a good living out of the same thing. It's that whole combination of it. So one more question I have is what kind of people use your service, or what would be your client avatar? If what kind of people reach out to you for support?
Yeah. Um, so I tend to work with women. I work with women probably between the ages of 30 to 60, 70 years old. Somebody
Uh-huh.
who has a busy lifestyle, who is perhaps overstretched and stuck in mental processes of their own,
Okay.
and help them to reconnect with the divine energy inside and help them to find creative solutions to finding the most vibrant health that they can in their life. Um, And one thing I did want to speak to on what you said is I meditation is one of those things that has been harder for me. I think my mind does take over a lot in my life, and hence the many directions that you see my business going in the areas that I have my fingers in. And it's often like through the body, and this might be a Western thing in general. That's the thing that's consistent. The consistent exercise, the consistent yoga practice helps me to return back to being in the body. And I'm finding more and more that the meditation and sitting in stillness, there's so much joy that can come from that. And yet so much of the mind resists that, at least in my human experience. And so it sounds like you find spirituality through like you said, from the outside in, where I'm like from the body, trying to draw it in other ways through fitness. And maybe again, it comes from my path of marketing and sports as being like the thing that I, did in the forefront. But I loved what you said about, like, I think that meditation has a profound effect on people, and being able to find spirituality outside of some of these physical practices is a really beautiful thing. And people are waking up more and more to that, including myself. So,
Yeah, see, I'm curious, and I think uh, I'm just curious. Perhaps we can have another conversation about this stuff. Why would you? I mean, to me, it's been about 50 minutes that I have conversed with you. I've talked to you. You are a very intelligent person. You have a very good understanding about life. You have gone through plenty. You have experienced life. You talk about the divine life, light inside, right? So
mhm,
you know that your inner world is creating the outer world.
yeah.
But when you go now more deeper into the psychology part of it, that wouldn't that actually go take you in a different direction?
It may, right? It may be bringing it back to the head, right? Bringing it away from like the spiritual practices, and more to figuring out what's wrong, right? That there's a dissonance between where we want to be, like you said, and where we are currently, that there is a focus on that. For me, I think that I'm more curious about the scientific, how I think that science and spirituality are coming more and more into alignment. And
Yeah,
I'm,
they are two sides of the same coin. It's the same
yeah,
thing. They're two
but
sides of the
we
same
didn't know
coin.
that in the past. And so what's curious for me, where I'm finding a lot of intrigue, is like, well, how is some of this sciencey stuff working on the spiritual, and how is the spiritual working on the science, and how are these things combining themselves? And this particular school that I'm looking into has a lot of new age, I guess. No, it's traditional, like I think that sometimes new age and like ancient tradition are the same thing, that we just think that we're coming up with some new ideas and we call it new age, but it's really returning back to some fundamental principles of how to do life.
Yeah, actually, one of the things I had just done up, I think I did a video on this, going from 3G to 5G. You know how our phone, on the
Yeah,
cell phone, we went from 3G to 5G.
yeah.
It's like we are going through life with the same thing. Like initially, the 3G, I call the physiology, the psychology, and biology, right? Then we started, now we are in the 5G space of neurology. So everybody's talking about the
Yeah.
neurological stuff and neuro pathways and
You hear a lot
reprogramming.
about mitochondria and stuff like that in the body,
Right,
which I think is the building
right.
blocks, right, of energy, right?
And then now the next phase that we are starting to lean into is the cosmology, where we are starting to learn more about the universe. That our DNA is interacting with ours. Our spirit works through the body and mind to experience the life. So how that all comes into play and all that. You familiar with? I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza.
I love his work. Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah. So he's leaning towards that stuff, that how the DNA, and another one is Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden. So I love that part of that science, and how the yoga and all that stuff incorporates with it. So
absolutely.
really the deeper aspects of yoga, when we talk about the dhyana and samadhi and all that stuff, that leans more towards that part of it, because even like Dr. Dispenza's work, you got to do meditation for you to experience those things.
Right.
So that part, of course, is comes back to the yoga, and a lot of people don't have a clear understanding about uh, the Eastern theosophy and Western theosophy. The spirit-based stuff comes from the Western theosophy. In the yoga, actually is just one of the 9 schools of thoughts. So there are 8 other things that will lead you into the spirituality and deeper understanding of all that stuff. So that's what made me curious about. You already are aware about your spirit. You work with yoga, and so now if you go deeper into the brain, then you are getting stuck limited. You're going towards the limited stuff that's already, you have passed that, and you are going back to that. So instead, I think, what was his name, I forget, a renowned psychologist, Sigmund
Mhm.
Freud. He said, we already know all the answers, we just need to be reminded. So
Yeah,
you already have your answers. I really believe that you are on a beautiful path. You have your yoga stuff going, you have your coaching going, you have your juice stuff. It's all seems like you have everything going for you. You are in the right path. It feels like it. You have a great personality. I think, you are in the right direction.
thank you. I think
So,
it's almost like meeting people where they are, if that makes
uh-huh.
sense. Like maybe I have to take a few steps back to grab people, like, in when we start to look to self-development, oftentimes in the West, we are looking to therapy, right? We're looking to coaching, we're looking to some sort of mental clarity around direction and who I am and what am I doing here. And I think of it maybe like walking somebody over the bridge, right? So you're like, okay,
Right, exactly.
I'm going to meet you where you understand Western personal development or self-development, and I'm hoping that I won't lose the ideas and feelings and direction that my soul has guided me on, right?
Right.
But that I can help find ways to explain it to people in ways that is able to help them understand where they're currently at. And maybe
I
that's
think you are a natural at
where
it.
people are at as a society, where our Western community is at as a society. But when I think of those that need the help most, I do feel like they probably still are very much living in the headspace and need to be walked
Yeah.
through some of the mental cloud, right, before they can get to the cloud of understanding divine energy and directions that are being pointed through more subtle energy, right? More,
Right, right,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, see, I think we learn more by teaching, by sharing our knowledge with other people, and we have more often the aha moments and stuff like that. That helps us a lot also when we help. I think, the universe, the gods are so intelligent, and they have created this model where you help people and you understand yourself more, that, okay, I'm solving your problem, but I'm learning more about myself. That's the beauty of the universe, how everything we help each other. And I think it's a human being naturally are very supportive of each other, but I think there is a lot of separation because of the society, the religion, the upbringing, all these things.
Maybe that's the mental illness that we're working through, like even in psychology, or
Yeah, yeah.
there's a book or a movie called I Am that and Native Americans often believe that this idea of us separate, right, and needing to have
Uh-huh.
our own home and our own family nucleus instead of a tribal sort of mentality is a form of mental illness,
It
right?
is.
Dissonance
Yeah.
that we once understood this deep, profound connection. And now we are hoarding, right? We don't want to protect the elderly or the, person that needs physical support, a handicapped person or somebody who has mental health issues of their own, that they, like, we don't want to, we need to take care of ourselves and hoard our belongings for ourselves, right? Instead of sharing and making sure the entire tribe is safe, right? Like, if we are only as strong as our entire team. So if one person in our team is suffering and one person in our human team is suffering, then how are we actually winning? How is anyone actually winning if the man next to them's not able to have a roof or food or whatever they need to be basic needs met?
Yeah, I'm starting to see that happen even in India. I mean, that two income family is a necessity now. Used to be, one person can work and one person can raise the kids, but not anymore. I mean, it has become where you must have a car, so many cars. I mean, everyone has a car, everybody has in one household, there is three, four cars, used to be my car, my dad had one car and that's it. That was it. But now even in India, things are changing. I think it's the whole mentality is changing. Another thing I see is like everybody's on their phone, so much lost in their head, and on the phone now it's even worse. So
Right.
don't hardly talk on the dinner table or stuff like that. Forget
Yeah.
about having dinners together. Yeah.
Right.
So it's a change, but that is what, my contribution, what I want to do is I want to share, bring like people like yourself on, talk about this stuff. People find it interesting, maybe have a few takeaway from you. What I got from your one of the articles I was reading, that people were willing to pay $17 for a drink, I think when you were bartending or something like that, and then they don't want to pay $10, $12 for a juice.
Yeah.
It's
It's
that
prominent
article
around
was saying.
here for sure.
Yeah,
They'll have an issue with the cost of a cold pressed juice, but if it has, a bit of alcohol in it or a glass of wine, people will spend $20-$25 these days for a glass of wine, and
amazing. Yeah.
it's pretty crazy that they'll have an issue with the juice not being at the same cost. It takes, oftentimes as much cost to create the juice, and then the shelf life on alcohol versus a fresh juice is considerably different, right? Alcohol you can keep in store for months, where a juice is a very short amount of days if it's unpasteurized. I have a question for you about India.
Yeah.
In our last teacher training, they talked about that spiritual leaders were supported by the community. Like, somebody might they're like, believe that their spiritual path is to, hold their left arm up in the air for days and days at a time.
20 years,
They'll sit
20 years, 20 years, that
they'll
guy.
sit there for 20 years, and people will bring them food or bring them a jacket or bring them like what they need. So that's a practice. That's a real practice. Like, I've only heard of it. I've never seen it with my own eyes, but I just find that to be such an interesting juxtaposition to what our society is. When you talk about, most, I live in a very affluent area where people have multiple cars in one household, multiple houses that they own, multiple
Right.
like, it's yeah, it's sometimes staggering the amount of things one person needs for their own well-being, versus when I hear stories like that of a feeling like they're on feeling some, like in India, where somebody feels like they're on purpose or has a calling to do one thing, and then the entire community just aligns with that, right? And can you speak more to that for me?
Yeah, actually it does. But again, like I said, the times are changing because now, see, India is as big as Texas, the state-wise, I mean, the land mass-wise. There is a billion people there. So everybody's so cramped in. So now the apartments, instead of having big bungalows and stuff, the apartments are coming. So everybody's now getting stuck in their own apartment. The life is not as used to be. But in my days, I remember where about 7:30, 8 o'clock, the not the beggars, they are not beggars, they are spiritual men. They come and ask for food. And so every house will give them. They will give. So even in you have to give at least one or two pieces of bread or a bowl of rice or something like that. So everybody. And so I've seen one in Nepal where in an ashram where everybody goes. So everybody has to take turns to go out. It's a spiritual practice. And it, I think, makes you humble when you go and ask for food as well. So they'll put it all together, they'll do something, and then they all eat together. So that is a practice. People do go out. um, I haven't been to India in the last 7 years. It's changed a lot now. It's become like mega cities and stuff like that. I'm curious to see that part of it. But like my father, he built a room in a ashram. So like one of the spiritual places where he donated, like I think it was about 30,000 rupees that time. But now I still have, so if I go back, I have that house to a room to stay in, like it's like a hotel place. But when we are not there, they give free to anybody who goes there. So if you, like, for example, if you want to go and live in an ashram, they will give free food, free living, everything is free for you when you want to go there. So there are a lot of places that would do that. I mean, uh, there was a respect. Now I am curious to see with the YouTube and stuff coming on. I am going to see, I have to see for myself now. I'm curious to see how it has changed, because the YouTube and the TikTok and all that has really changed the world quite a bit. But there
Certainly.
was for a long time, and these people had the knowledge. I mean, it is. I never believed my dad when he used to tell me stories or things that the yogis can achieve. Like they can be buried in the ground for like 30 days, and they come out like nothing has happened.
Right.
That was one thing that I never believed, but now I know that it can be done. I've also learned, in fact, Deepak Chopra talked about somebody in his family. They, like that prana, they give up their life knowingly and then come back after 2 3 days. So that just like Jesus, like
Yeah.
resurrection,
Sounds
right?
very much like a Bible story. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like same thing with the Sai Baba, one of the deities in Indian Hindu culture. They do that. So there is a lot of common stuff. So thank you so much for your time. I think let me ask you, how would our listeners connect with you? What would be your website? What are your Facebook handles? Can you talk a little bit? Let us know before we take off.
Certainly. Yeah. So the website is thejuicylifeyoga.com.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And that's where you'll find about juice and coaching and yoga. And then we have the Juicy Life Company on Instagram and the Juicy Life Coach on Instagram. And I also have Juicy Life Coach on Facebook and the Juicy Life on Facebook, and then
Okay.
my personal Kimberly Zimmerman account on Facebook too. And all of those are ways that people can connect with me as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate
Pleasure. Thank
you
you
have
for your
taken so
time.
much
I
time
appreciate yours
spending
too.
with me.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasure talking to you. Perhaps we'll connect some other time and have maybe deeper discussions.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Okay, thank you. Namaste.
Pleasure. Namaste.
Into another enlightening episode of the Conscious Creators Podcast. We hope you found inspiration and insights that will empower your life journey. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this podcast to help spread the wisdom so it can reach more seekers of truth and transformation. Your engagement really fuels us. Stay connected with us on social media: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and download our app or join our thriving community. Remember, between where you are and where you want to be, the only thing that comes in the way is your mind. It's all about going from mind mastery to self mastery. Until next time, namaste.